you've been talking about vibration and resonance.
That's right.
So how important is it? I mean, removing vibration or resonance from a turntable?
Turntable is a device that reads the vibration of the groove.
Right.
Any other kind of vibration that might come from the record player or from the resonance of the tone arm and so on and so forth. All these things are what we call parasitic vibrations.
Yeah.
And they basically destroy the music. You can never add more music to the music that was recorded. When you add more vibrations, it's noise, and noise lowers the quality of the playback.
Right.
So the idea is to have as fewer parasitic vibrations as possible. And as you advance towards that goal, you get more and more energy in the music that is comparable, let's say, to a live performance, which I think is what we're all
pursuing.
seeking. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, hence Kronos, we're going back time, right?
Well, yeah, the name Kronos was based on the Titan, which is basically the Titan of time, and a Greek god. I don't know if we can say God because he was a Titan, which is a bit different.
Father of gods.
The father of gods. So, but time is really everything. And what's great with audio in general is that when you listen back to a musical performance that was recorded, you in the future, as opposed to that performance which was recorded in the past, you basically have a time machine by which you can go back to the original moment. And if the playback is really, really good, it's like a voyage back in time. So it's very exciting.
It seems like you're there listening to actual performance.
That's the goal, absolutely.
Yeah. Esoteric recently introduced a turntable
Yes.
using clock. What's your opinion on implementing clocks to turntables?
They implemented the clock in the drive system.
Right.
Well, I don't know what that means exactly. Does that mean that they're analyzing the speed in the digital domain?
Yeah.
We do the same thing. And now external clock?
Oh yeah, it's an external clock.
That comes from the DAC idea, that you have an external clock to sing the DAC. There's a clock, we have an oscillator, which is basically a clock that's separate from the chip. So, but we have it in the same board. So I don't know if we would need to have a box outside that's a clock.
Right.
That, to me, that's not the most important part. This has to do with jitter and digital, which is in a completely different kind of application. So I think this idea is to transfer the knowledge that they had in the digital playback to the turntable, but I don't think there's any analogy or reason to do that. That's just my opinion.
Sound like, we're talking about MSB versus DCS. DCS has an external clock, whereas MSB has internal one.
But the idea is I'd like to know what the reason for it is. I mean, we have the super capacitor power supply, which is much more important to the precision of the drive system than an external oscillator clock would be.
So for Pro, you're using SCPS-1?
That's right. Okay, so let's take a step back. About 7 years ago, Kronos was the first audio company to use supercapacitors in an audio product. Supercapacitor is a capacitor that has 10,000 times the concentration of power reserve than a regular electrolytic capacitor might. They were first used in Formula One as a recharger to get the electric boost that they were using in motor racing when they started making the motors smaller and smaller. So they're extremely lightweight and very, very concentrated in power reserve. We were the first company to use it. The reason we were using supercapacitors was to create completely independent power supply, independent from the grid. So basically, SCPS is a power accumulator where these supercaps are used as a battery. So one bank of cap is being charged, the secondary bank of cap is driving the turntable as if on battery, and these banks replace each other every 3 minutes so that it's like replacing batteries.
Yes.
On the fly. And you don't hear this replacement. It happens completely in the background because you also have a third bank of caps that's doing the transition. So the advantage of that, of having this huge power reserve and being disconnected from the grid, we can understand. Why not use a battery? Because the impedance is not low enough. A motor can disturb a battery. There's a tug of war between the battery as an output and the motor, so it flutters. There's like what in digital they might call jitter. So the super cap with the low impedance completely controls the motor, and with the high power reserve also controls the motor, very stable. And the motor has no choice than to rotate in a very linear way. We use DC motors because they're non-cogging as well. So all of that ensures a very, very smooth drive with very, very, very small level of vibration within the drive. Now in Discovery, we have a new SCPS, but it's basically the same concept, but brought to the newer generation of controllers that exist now for supercaps. Now they have ICs that replace a lot of the circuit. So we have more efficiency using ICs, and there's supercaps that have more power reserve even than what we used to use.
Why 1 and D?
Well, the 1 was the first SCPS we came up with. SCPS-D means SCPS for Discovery. That's basically where the D comes from. We also have SCPS, which is Sparta SCPS. So if this is confusing enough, I'm sorry, but we didn't spend a lot of time naming these things. We just wanted to identify what they were.
I understand that RS tone-arm changed a lot from Black Beauty. Could you elaborate on the improvement you made?
So we talked about the soft clamping as a big step forward in Discovery, basically the Discovery within the chassis of Discovery. Once this was in production and was introduced and it was so successful, the question is what could we transfer from this technology to the tone arm? And RS, meaning resonance suppressor, is the result of that research. Now, we have 2 patent applications in this tone arm, so we're talking about new technology. The resonance suppressor is a way by which the tone arm 1 is decoupled from the back of the tone arm, and it stops standing waves from going back and forth. It dampens the tone arm and reduces the amount of vibrations. We also have some decoupling within the head shell itself that is also patent pending. And within the tube, we have what we call interrupts, where there are gaps by which the energy is slowly decreased as you go forward or as it goes backwards, because energy keeps on going back and forth between the stylus and the pivot point. So as a guitar string or piano string. So we try to dampen this as much as possible in order to have a rigid tone arm, very rigid, but at the same time not solid.
You have Discovery and you have Chronoscope.
These are the 2 tone arms. So the Discovery RS is the flagship tone arm. And then from there, we simplified a few things, tightened a few things up, made it a little more simple. And it's so to scale it down to a price point that would be more easier for the customer. And it's called the Chronoscope RS. It has the same basic construction as the Discovery RS, but simpler. It's a little bit like comparing Kronos Pro to Kronos Sparta. Same DNA, but a little more affordable.
Do you recommend Discovery RS or Chronoscope RS tone arm over tone arm of other brands?
This is a very self-serving answer I'm going to give you, but our goal is to offer the absolute best analog playback system available. So if there was a better tone arm that I was being made aware of, there would be something better, I wouldn't sell the Chronoscope RS or the Discovery RS. I would go back to the drawing board and try to see if we can make it better. As far as I'm concerned, there can be no better tone arms for Kronos turntables than the Discovery RS and the Chronoscope RS. On top of the fact that the tone arms have some features that no other tone arms have. They've also been tuned to be with the Kronos product. Yes. They've been voiced with the Kronos products so that we have the absolute optimal setup possible.
So even Kronos Pro using Discovery RS would give you the benefit.
From the Discovery turntable?
Yeah.
I would say everything is compounds, meaning to say improvements add on to improvements. So, of course, a Discovery RS on a Discovery turntable would be the best sound that we have to offer. Right. But Kronos Pro with the Discovery RS would get close to, let's say, Discovery with the old technology tone armor we're offering. And so all the turntables have been upgraded by a big step by using the RS tone arms. But of course, if you have the Discovery, it would still be better than the Pro, let's say. But the Pro's gotten really much better in the Sparta. So we have an upgrade program that's very competitive, that's very appealing, where we take back the old tone arms and we offer the new ones. And in some cases, some Sparta customers have chosen the Discovery RS, not the Chronoscope RS, because they love their Sparta and they want to get the maximum out of their Sparta. Some Pro owners have had Chronoscope RS, and some owners have had Discovery RS tone arms. And so it goes like that. When you get at the level of Discovery, it's pretty much understood that somebody's going to take...
It's the only choice, isn't it?
It would be, but we have a customer that put two tone arms on his turntable, and one is a Chronoscope RS and one is the Discovery RS as the main tone arm. So all the options are available, basically.